Hey everybody, this is Guro Francis, Big Boy Screamador, and today's another episode of Bayani Talk. Hey everybody, this is Guro Francis, Big Boy Screamador, and today's another episode of Bayani Talk. And today I'm filming in Lake Paris because we're celebrating my nephew's birthday. Happy birthday, nephew. This video is dedicated to you. I love you, and I'm very proud of you, and I'm very proud of the husband and the man and the father that you've become. So happy birthday. So today I'd like to talk about why it's important for a Filipino martial artist to go back to the Philippines or go to the Philippines if you've never been. Now, there's been a few discussions that's being shared lately that it's not necessary for you to go back to the Philippines to learn Filipino martial arts. Well, in reality, that's absolutely true. You don't really need to go home to the Philippines if you want to learn technique, if you want to learn just how to move and how to do things, right? But the way I teach, the way I've always taught, is from a philosophical standpoint, like how to think like a Filipino martial artist. And this is where, in my opinion, and again, this is my opinion, if somebody differs, that's, nothing but love and respect. But in my opinion, if you just learn the techniques of Filipino martial arts, you're only learning half of what Filipino martial arts really is. Because to me, how we got to that technique, or how we got into that style, or how do we get into that movement is just as important as, is the why that we got there is just as important as how, to do the movement, right? And how we got there is just as important. The how and the why is just as important. And part of that is that we have to be able to listen to the struggles of the Filipino people. Now, there was a video that was shared many, many years ago, saying that Filipino martial artists, there's too much movement in the way they do things. I definitely had, I questioned that person's validity, to be honest with you, only because I know that person has only trained with Filipino martial arts within a few months, maybe the most 1 year. And for that person to actually say that, that a lot of FMA movements is unnecessary is kind of, I think, a little bit arrogant. I've been practicing Filipino martial arts since 1998, and I am nowhere near qualified enough to be able to say that, that why somebody else's style or somebody else's technique or why they do things is irrelevant. Okay, because the one thing that every Filipino martial artist who decides to learn FMA but stay within their specific style, we live in a bubble, right? The way we think, the way we move, the way we do things is conducive to the way we are trained, right? This is the reason why it's good to cross-train with other styles, because you get to see their strengths and the way they do things and how the way they do things, right? And that's, to me, is like it opens up your style, it opens up your technique. And then what's more important is that you're not really focusing on the things that makes it different from one another, but the things that make it similar, right? The philosophy, in my opinion, every other FMA techniques that I've tried, it always boils down to the same foundational understanding of what FMA really is. Now, in order for us to do that, again, you gotta know where it came from. You gotta know how it started. Okay. Now, to me, one of the few advantages, okay, of Philippines not being even 100 years old as a independent sovereign nation is that we still have a lot of the people that founded the system that are still alive. Now, of course, as the time goes on, that's, of course, is going to continue to diminish. Now, the problem is that once that original source is gone, we're not going to be able to get that back, right? And all we're getting is sorry, my dog's barking. Now all we're getting is secondary information. Stop. He wants to be on the video. Okay, so we're just getting secondary information. So the ability to be able to go back to the Philippines to train with these grandmasters, to me, is just a wealth of knowledge that if you choose not to, you're not tapping into it, right? And secondly, the way they move is a direct result of their environment and their circumstances. Basically, it's based on their context in the way that they move, right? And the reason why they do those techniques. Once you understand why they do what they do, then it makes more sense why they do it. Just because my style doesn't do it that way, it doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. It doesn't necessarily mean that's worse or better than mine, right? It's just that for their circumstances, for that moment, it makes sense to them, right? But then, so nobody really is qualified to say that my style is better than the other style, because there's so many X factors. Again, circumstances, the context of it all, or even the fighter. What kind of fighter is that person? It really changes, and every little thing makes us salient details. But for us to not tap into that knowledge base, to not go back home to the Philippines and talk to the people that develop the style that we're practicing today, hear it from, lack of a better term, from the horse's mouth, man, that's just, to me, that's just, that's just a waste. And after the year that we've all had, a year plus that we've all had, and even in the Philippines right now, they're not even at 5% containment. I just spoke to my cousin who just graduated from the University of the Philippines as a nurse, said that there's only 5% contained, like 5% of the population in the Philippines is vaccinated. And to go from one part of the Philippines to another, you got to get certified and you got to get approval. It's not that easy right now with the way the world is right now. So, and then, who are the most susceptible to COVID right now? It's the elderly. So we're not taking advantage of these information. We're not taking advantage of the wealth of knowledge that these guys have. Some of these men and women have used this to protect themselves during the occupation, during the Japanese World War II, during the occupation. You never know, right? I know that there's still some people from that time era that use something to be able to defend themselves, whatever that may be. Whether we label it as FMA or not, I don't know. What I'm just trying to say is that we don't know what it's like until we walked in their shoes. And for me, who grew up here in the United States, but I was born in the Philippines, I grew up here, one of the best things that ever happened to my FMA career was that I was able to go back home to the Philippines in 2008 and study from different techniques, such as Isla Mandirigma with Kuya Roland Isla, with Jomar Obejas from Rapido Realissimo Cali, just to name a few. And it was such a privilege and an honor to be able to train with them, but to train with them in the motherland was such a huge privilege for me. And so what I'm trying to tell you this, whether you're Filipino or not, whether you've been to the Philippines or not, if you're a Filipino martial artist and you really want to take the understanding and the passion of FMA to the next level, I highly, highly suggest that you go back to the Philippines and smell the air, hear the voice, hear the sounds, and feel what it's like to live in the Philippines. And then maybe you'll get a new set of insight that you would have never gotten before. I don't know, that's just my thoughts. And if you're looking for a travel agent, by the way, I am a travel agent, so I'll put my email contact in how y'all to reach me. But if you are looking for a Filipino martial arts school that understands the roots and where I came from, visit us at www.fmaschool.com. I don't know, do you guys agree? Do you agree that that going to the Philippines is also just as important, is very important to grow your Filipino martial arts career? Comment down below. And don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget that notification button so that you're alerted for the next anytime the next video drops. Until then, my name is Guro Francis, Big Boy Screamador. Peace out, God bless, and keep swinging them sticks.